How's it going, guys? My friend Zach messaged me and told me I should make a video about the Nicolas Cage film Mom and Dad. So I watched it and boy, I have a lot of thoughts. This is essentially the story of a town, or maybe a state, or maybe a whole country, or maybe the whole world, I'm not sure, but parents all over feel the urge to murder their children. It focuses on one family, a dad, a mom, a daughter, and a son, and Nicolas Cage plays the dad. I'm going to keep talking about Nicolas Cage because he plays the most interesting character in the film for sure. This is similar to Bird Box and A Quiet Place in the sense that we don't know exactly why these events are happening. There's a lot of mystery surrounding them, and honestly, it's for the best that there's no explanation. There is a scene, however, where the parents are going on their rampage and the two kids are hiding in the basement and the daughter's trying to comfort the son like, whatever this is, it'll pass. They aren't being their normal selves right now. And honestly, that bothered me a little bit. Are we supposed to be under the impression that this is to last only like 24 hours or something? Is this like The Purge but on all children? That part kind of threw me off. It's almost sort of kind of implied that the cause of all this is from screens. There's a scene in a hospital where after a woman gives birth, a heart monitor turns to a staticky screen and she then tries to kill her baby. In the main family's household, a TV turns staticky right before the dad, played by Nick Cage, goes crazy and wants to murder his kids. Also, the first frame of the movie, right before the first scenes, is TV static. All that's up for interpretation, I suppose. Regardless, the logic behind this unknown force is all over the place. We first visually see the murder phenomenon with an army of parents waiting outside a school. Yet there are also news reporters, police officers, teachers, etc. who are just doing their jobs. Do none of them have children? Does this force only apply to suburban, middle-class families with parents who work 9-to-5 jobs and have kids in public school? Nick Cage's character and his wife weren't at the school. Does this not apply to main characters either? Do the parents have to be within a certain vicinity of their kids and some parents were just too far away? Did the parents waiting outside the school look at that TV static beforehand? I honestly don't know. In that regard, it's pretty lazily written, but there are also some lines in the film that struck me as just ridiculous. One of the daughter's friends at her high school says, "My dad is such a penis." Okay. There's also a scene where the mother is meeting with some random guy who's literally only in this short scene. I believe his purpose is just to tell us that parenting is horrible because he says, I'm not making this up, he says, look, you either die single or you live long enough to see yourself become a cliche. Why was he referencing The Dark Knight? Why? I don't understand. Okay, one more ridiculous line. While on a murderous rampage, a dad goes to grab a gun from his room, and a mom goes, wait, a handgun? You do realize that 1 in 5 children and adolescents injured involve firearms? Huh? You sound like you just read that from an anti-gun article or something. Aren't you a murderer? Aren't you trying to murder your children right now? Is this movie supposed to be woke regarding gun violence? Speaking of guns, there's also a scene where a character gets shot, dumps tons of alcohol on the wound, but doesn't want to take the bullet out. Another character even says that it'll get infected, but they bandage it up anyways. You do realize that the bullet's gonna have to come out of there eventually. There are a lot of little things here and there that just don't make sense. I could go on and on about them, but I need to move on. Trust me, there are lots of parts in the movie that are poorly written, and they just need a lot of work. From the beginning to the end, Nick Cage's character is insane and needed to be fleshed out much more. His intentions are so unclear and all over the place. This sort of ties into the flawed logic of the movie's concept. For instance, he tries to kill a character that isn't his son or daughter after the widespread events started happening, which doesn't make sense unless he's always been a maniac. In another part, he finally gets in reach of his children after spending lots of time trying to get them out of a hiding place. And right as he's about to kill them, he gets distracted. You spent all this time trying to kill them. Why not just do it now while they're in reach? In another part, before all the mass killing begins, he installs a pool table in his house, and after talking to his wife shortly, he starts destroying it with an axe while singing the Hokey Pokey. It really doesn't make sense as to why he did that either, but the pool table destroying had something to do with him being upset while reminiscing over his youth years. A lot of his lines in the film are about those good old days and how much he misses them, which I don't understand the purpose of. These nostalgic thoughts totally consume him, and they recur in the movie several times, but seem to have nothing to do with the story, the children killing. I suppose while you're having a midlife crisis and reminiscing over your youth, you might not want kids anymore. But those two concepts don't blend together at all. I'm led to believe that the message of this movie is just, don't have kids. I mean, we have that guy I mentioned earlier who's only in this movie to advise people to not have kids. There's also Nick Cage's obsession with his teenage years, plus the children murdering phenomenon, both of which Nick Cage's character uses to bond with his wife and patch up their marriage. The message of this story seems so convoluted and messed up. At one point, Nick Cage's character says something like, "We used to be so awesome and cool, now we're just mom and dad." And that's the name of the movie, and the only time that's said in the movie, so what is it trying to say? Nick Cage's character makes a lot of sexual references as well. He says that, referring to his younger self, "I was gonna grab the world by the balls and squeeze, boy!" And then, shortly after, he says, "My kill ratio was 9 out of 10. I was 100% sex." I don't even know what that means. There's a clip that's just a few seconds long of Cage's character as a teenager driving like crazy and doing donuts in a car while a topless woman sits on his lap facing him. They're both having the time of their lives. It shows up for a few seconds in the beginning and a few seconds in the end, although it's not explained until the end. It has such little significance to the story because, again, no idea why he's so obsessed with his youth. That little part feels so weird and out of place. Also, there's a scene where he's watching porn at work. There are lots of other scenes with sexual subtext that aren't directly related to Nick Cage's character. For example, there are two parts, one after the other, both of which don't serve any purpose in the story at all. The mother is in a workout class, I want to say Zumba or something, and the scene is filled with suggestive shots of women. Right after that, the mother is talking to her friend from that class, and her friend goes off about why she thinks her daughter is a whore. Honestly, in an uncomfortable level of detail. Something like this even comes up towards the end, where a character tells their daughter-in-law that she's just a good-for-nothing whore, etc. I'm not exactly sensitive to all this sexual subtext, I just feel like they're not necessary to the story and make the movie as a whole feel very horny and male-gazy. Especially the part with the topless woman in the car. There's seriously no reason to include that. Nick Cage's character projects his obsession with youthfulness and sex on his children. At one point, he sees a boy in his house. Cage goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" The kid says something along the lines of, "It's not what it looks like." I don't even know why he said that, but Cage essentially follows that up with, "It's exactly what it looks like. It's called hormones." He's very controlling and always says stuff along the lines of, "You know, I was your age and not that long ago either," throughout the movie. Like I said, his intentions are so unclear, and I truly don't have a good reason for most of his lines to be said in the first place in the film. Moving on, there are lots of bizarre stylistic choices with this movie. The cinematography is horrible. The whole movie looks so dark and dirty. In this scene, where Nick Cage is in the basement, there's literally no light except for this one behind him, which is clearly in frame. Why is that there? Was that on purpose? There's also a lot of shaky cam. At one point after a flashback, we're brought back to the present, indicated by a drone shot pointed directly at the ground, violently and aggressively shaking and spinning in circles. The shaky cam is especially present in the action sequences, however. At one point, a couple characters are forcing another character to stay in a closet out of self-defense, but when that character finally bursts out, it's filmed and edited in such a disorienting way. The shots are extremely shaky and the camera switches every second. I haven't felt that dizzy while watching a movie since Bohemian Rhapsody. These shots are often paired with the sounds of TV static and random clips of dubstep music that syncs up with the action. Every music clip is a different length and is spaced out differently in every scene. It's very unpredictable and overall strange. I feel like it would be cooler if I was watching the movie in a surround sound movie theater, but you know, it's unique, I guess. This is a horror comedy, and in many ways it's funny. It's evident that the comedy of it lies in its absurdity and how ridiculous of a concept the movie is. It's good that this movie is mostly self-aware. In the beginning of the movie, there's a part where Nick Cage's character attacks his son and suspenseful music starts playing, but it turns out to just be a tickle fight. Since I knew what this movie was going to be about, I honestly thought that was hilarious. Movies this goofy need to be self-aware. In another part, a character laughs and says something along the lines of, "When my parents got divorced, I thought it was the worst thing to ever happen to me. I didn't realize it would double my chances of survival." I honestly thought that was really funny too. Overall, this is just a bizarre Nick Cage movie. You shouldn't watch this if you want something ridiculously scary or ridiculously funny, but just a weird, short, bizarre Nick Cage movie. I think aside from all these stupid moments, its biggest issue is that it doesn't have a real message. There are often parts that involve broken families, which I don't understand the purpose of given the, killing children plot. There are also a few parts that involve, during scenes where parents are going crazy, flashbacks to loving, sentimental childhood memories from when the parents were in evil. Again, don't know what that's trying to say. Lastly, there are those parts where the parents reflect on how much they hate parenting. The movie really tries to have a message. It wants to have a message, but it's so unclear, convoluted, and just feels wrong. If all that truly doesn't matter to you and you want to watch something dumb to pass the time, this will be for you. It's a B horror comedy and nothing more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please click like and subscribe and follow me on Letterboxd for more of my takes on movies. Again, thank you so much and I'll see you next time.